Emily Hessenauer, and today I will be talking about some of the ethical questions presented with the case of Henrietta Lacks or the HeLa cells. So my main question is, should compensation be provided for those who gave their consent for contribution to research, or should it be considered a donation? Some things I'm going to be going over today include the ethical principles of beneficence, autonomy, non-maleficence, justice, and then looking at things from more of a public health and humanistic perspective. Some things I'd like to get through include vocabulary. So, beneficence mean to act on the benefit of another. So, to do this, one must be acting without their own self-interest involved. Autonomy, the capacity to act on your decisions freely and independently without any coercion or undue influence. So, the value cannot be too great, but you cannot face any consequences for not participating in the research. And then there's non-maleficence, which means do no harm, and this includes a mental or emotional distress involved. So, should people expect compensation for an act of goodwill? Does compensation undermine the inherent value of this donation and the altruism that is expected with that? Alternatively, if companies are making a profit from the application of such research, shouldn't those who contributed be reimbursed? For example, scientists are paid. Shouldn't anyone who be involved in the research be paid as well? Then there's autonomy. As long as a patient is completely informed of the contributions they're making, is it okay to not compensate them? As long as you say at the beginning there will be no value associated with this monetarily, is that okay? Or is it the case where people will truly never be completely informed about these processes, as research can be quite complex and hard to understand even for those with higher education? Would a lower socioeconomic status be more inclined to do research if there was profit to be made? And if so, is that truly uncoerced consent? For example, offering a $50 gift card for research will have a different value to somebody who is at a lower socioeconomic status than somebody who is quite wealthy. And then considering non-maleficence, are there risks involved in the donation? For example, biopsies and blood work might lead to infection, but does research compensation have to include treatment for these risks? Even if so, that will feel very different to somebody with or without insurance based on if they can contact a primary care provider just at the drop of any side effect. And then from a more humanistic stance, individuals attribute different value to many different things, even culturally. So if one tries to compensate these differences, how can we determine that these variabilities are equitable across all status? Um, and then overall, from another ethical standpoint, if participants are contributing an aspect of themselves, be it their time, their cells, genetic material, anything, is it fair to give them nothing in return? I know societally it's kind of expected that if you give something, something is given unto you, or is just the public health benefits good enough to compensate? Speaking of, public health is very complicated because it's all about balancing these personal freedoms with the greater good of humanity or the society in question. And it's really important to ensure that these choices that are being made are fair for everyone and are equitable. However, with no compensation involved whatsoever, it is completely ensured that people are donating solely of their own free will with no impact on finances or treatment availabilities. Um, However, to get the most research available for the general public, you really need a lot of data. The more data, the higher the correlation can be in the study that you're practicing. So to encourage donation participation, if you gave compensation, it would still be a net value as more people would participate overall. And then finally, certain populations are more likely to get health care. We know this. Depending on where researchers seek values, which communities they go to, which populations they involved, research application will be limited regardless, especially if we're choosing to involve those directly in healthcare or who go to a primary care or who get surgeries. This research would be specific to those individuals in theory. So thank you so much for listening,